Okay. Should be live. Just give it a couple minutes here. Oh, damn. Actually, let's just sit back a bit. Yeah. Oh, damn. All right. Welcome to the Wrestling Pod. I'm your host, Carlito Santiago, and today we're here to review what went down at WrestleMania 42, ladies and gentlemen, night one. So, we kicked off with, and I want to say, night one was okay, was average, really good, but we're jumping right into it. Division and I Show Speed took on the Usos in LA Knight. John Cena hosted WrestleMania. Oh my God. Opened the show and talked about the controversy around WrestleMania 42 and promised the talent was ready to deliver to the fans. The match that started was, of course, the Usos, Knight, Speed, everybody, involved. So the match started with Knight and Speed, who tried to show out with his athleticism, but could not rattle the megastar. Down the stretch, Theory grew more annoyed with Speed, accidentally hitting him, followed by running into a BFT from LA Knight for the face to win. So, afterwards, the Maverick bullied Speed and threatened to put him through the announce table. The faces helped Speed and encouraged him to frog splash through the table. And as a WrestleMania, this was a terrible opener. Not because the match was bad, but because it wasn't interesting. This came off as TV tag team match that lost half of its time. However, this lasted only 7 minutes, lacking any real near falls or pace pushing moments. It was bland, forgettable, and action outside of its own narrative. Speed was the star here, of course. So we could be looking at Speed versus Paul at Backlash, but I mean, shit, there's just nothing for this. It seems like there is nothing for this. And you know what? Looking back, yeah, graded a D. That is a bad start. That is a bad start, man, to WrestleMania. But maybe it could get better, because this is what should have kicked off. This is what should have kicked off the show. The unsanctioned match between Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu. Fatu jumped onto McIntyre during his entrance to start this match hot. It did not take long for the two to start pulling out weapons and to get more violent. The Scottish Warrior mocked the Samoan Werewolf as he turned the tides, even pulling out his brother's cell phone for his latest bored at work tweet. Fatu hit the mighty moonsault for the near fall, as Michael Cole questioned if it is the first time that anyone is kicked out of it. McIntyre caught the Samoan Werewolf with a suplex that bent a steel chair, followed by a Claymore near fall. After sending Fatu through the table outside, Scott thought he had an easy opening to win. Fatu fought back with the toolbox to the face and hit a second mighty moonsault through a table for the win. This may have been the strongest story build of any match at Mania, so it was not surprising that it landed so well in the ring. It was obvious that these two were somewhat restricted for the full violence typically expected in an unsanctioned encounter, but they did deliver on what was allowed to them. In particular, the athleticism of both big men had made them look nearly unstoppable warriors going to war, especially since unsanctioned matches results do not technically count in the record books. The result could only go one way. Fatu needed this win and gets a huge Mania rub that should put him in the world title picture for the beyond the shows of shows. So we'll have to find out. But grade a B+, really great. Obviously, Fatu pulling out the toolbox caused McIntyre to have PTSD from Hell in a Cell. We remember that. We had our women's tag team title matches. And Nikki Bella came out walking in a boot, still not clear to compete. She revealed the return of Paige. As much as this is fun and all, as much as this is fun, I like Paige returning back. AEW took a big loss on that one. Big loss. Anyway, the action started slow until Paige got the hot tag, and she was the focus of the action from that point on. Legend hit the first potential finish of the night with a lash extension on Valkyrie, but Paige and Charlotte sent both out and called back their own history before a strike exchange. The Queen laid out Paige with a natural selection, but Nikki struck Charlotte with a crutch. The Goddess went for the Twisted Bliss, but right into the knees of Paige for the Rampage and for the 1-2-3 victory. For a match with 8 women involved, this felt like it was all about one woman the entire time. It's crazy. It was nice a nice spot for Paige, who looked solid in the ring for a return. She was not a complete surprise given her decent AEW run throughout 2024, but she fit well in the chaotic action. Now, it was a shame that this return overshadowed practically everyone involved. Needless to say, once Nikki is cleared, she and Brie will want to be tag team champions, and they will likely turn on Paige on the road to the gold. Long term, it will be interesting to see what Paige can do with this stacked modern women's roster and redefining a legacy previously cut short by a serious neck injury. So, C+, and let's not forget that the cameraman actually collapsed as Paige and Legend were fighting on the apron. Hopefully he is alright. So yeah, that's another thing to look out for. We move on to what could be considered mid-match. Obviously they're going to give it B- because Bleacher Report is biased. No, I'm kidding. But a little bit they are. See, Becky Lynch came in heated against Lee early in the contest, but the champion refused to stay down. AJ Lee fought off a manhandle slam and transitioned to a Black Widow, but Lynch wiped her into the ropes, followed by a successful manhandle slam for the first near fall. The man then exchanged words and shoves with Jessica Carr, setting up Lynch for a manhandle slam from the champion for her own near fall. Lynch pulled the hair to escape the Black Widow. The man then exposed the turnbuckle, used Carr as a shield, and sent AJ into the turnbuckle, followed by a manhandle slam for the 1-2-3 victory. This was an over-the-top spectacle, playing onto the story that built this rivalry. It was the cleanest Lee and Lynch have worked together, but they did not try as much this time around. The focus was Lynch sneaking her way past AJ Lee by manipulating Carr. The two focused on their signature offense over athletic and technical sequences, especially down the stretch. It was a solid performance from both women, but it did not live up to the WrestleMania spotlight put upon it. AJ Lee's title reign was ultimately a disappointment, as it would have been nice to see more title defenses before WrestleMania losses, and that's the whole thing. You know, the amount of times you defend it versus the amount of days you hold it. You're going to have more days than title reigns, defenses, but you need to defend that title. Instead, the title is back on Lynch, and she needs someone else to step up and take the title from her. Lee is going to take a break and take a hiatus, as far as I'm concerned. So, again, if she is around on a weekly basis, she will still be champ. And that's talking about Lynch. If she is going to disappear for a stretch again, move on to a new rivalry. Lynch needed the title, so she redefined back. She has redefined back on her shoulder. Either way, Lynch needed the win, and I'm glad I got that. So B-. Gunther versus Seth, probably the best match here, and I'm going to change this grade to a A-. Alright? Gunther attacked Seth Rollins as he tried to take off his jacket, started a brawl around the ring before the bell could officially ring. The pace slowed once they were in the squared circle, but they began to hit haymakers and big offenses to push the pace. After Gunther countered the pedigree, Rollins slipped through his grip into the stomp for the near fall. The career killer locked in a sleeper hold for the first time, and Rollins managed to break free. The Visionary hit a superplex into a Falcon's Arrow into a sleeper of his own. Gunther slipped free to the outside. Rollins dived onto the Austrian, but got caught with a pair of power bombs. Rollins responded with a pedigree. Where was it? Oh yeah, Rollins responded with a pedigree and a stomp on the table. Braun Breaker made his return with a high-speed spear on Rollins into the barricade. Gunther locked in another sleeper, and of course, this one knocked out the Visionary. Afterwards, Breaker hit another spear running from the ramp all the way to the ring. Heyman raised his hand on the stage afterwards. Michael called out multiple times that this was not going to be a 5-star classic, but rather a fight, and that mentally may have held this back from reaching its best form. It was the best pure action of the night to this point, but for WrestleMania, a place where both Gunther and Rollins have stolen the show before, this was not up to their highest standard. The career killer was selling exhaustion at the 10-minute mark. Rollins pasted this for a Mania crowd that would fill the silence and build up the moment better. The crowd's inconsistent energy may be down to a thrown together build over the last couple of weeks, but Rollins and Gunther shown that they have more natural support and heat with the W crowd. So honestly, moving forward, you're going to give Rollins and Breaker the fucking spot for Backlash. That's just the primitive setup. But I'm going to change it to an A-. Yep, the match that does not deserve a B at all. This was 7 minutes fucking long, and it's getting a downgrade, and I'm fucking doing this. Not because it wasn't the main event, no. I got over it. Liv started strong with a springboard powerbomb out of the corner and an enziguri to set up a frog splash. La Primera countered and laid into the Devil's Kiss. Liv went from her own Devil's Kiss, but Vakir countered into the SVB and an Oblivion for a near fall. Roxanne Perez then showed up to distract the ref as Raquel attacked Vakir and followed an Oblivion for a shocking near fall. La Primera set Liv into Raquel on the outside, springboard from the ring to the floor. Morgan sent Primera into the steel steps, followed by a second Oblivion for the victory. Dominic would, of course, come out and celebrate with her, and Raquel and Roxanne. This should have gone longer and allowed both women to do more than just hit their signature offenses, but they made the most of their time they had. Liv Morgan was ambitious with her entrance and may have been tired before the bell rang, but she hit her offenses clean and never slowed down. Vakir was consistently strong throughout, but she was clearly ready to go another 10 minutes at least. Hopefully a rematch will get more time and spotlight on this feud that will have multiple matches. Morgan was always the heir apparent to the Women's World Championship. Her new theme and presentation highlighted that WWE wants to go big, or go as big as possible with her. She still has much to prove, but is clearly much more ready to be world champion now than she was when she first won the gold. Well, no, necessarily. She's that big. She doesn't need the fucking title. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? No. Now just for that, now you piss me off. Now this is getting a C-. Like, fuck you guys. This is definitely a downgrade. 7-minute match. Should have went longer. Fuck you. C-. Getting changed. Bianca Belair also announced her pregnancy. Now, of course, we didn't have John Cena in this. But yes, Bianca Belair, thinking that she was coming back, of course, in-ring action. Haven't seen in a long time. But she revealed a baby bump. So, to Montez Ford and Bianca Belair, congratulations. And we hope to see you when you guys come back. Hopefully Montez Ford comes back with Angelo Dawkins, performs more. But, yeah, shout out. And congratulations to the EST. Alright, Cody and Randy. And this was not good at all either. Yeah, let me explain. Pat McAfee stole the mic from Alicia Taylor and gave Orton a hype promo. He then blasted Rhodes with the microphone for the bell. The brawl to the outside saw Jelly Roll arrive to drop an elbow on McAfee and, of course, stretcher him out. So, once it started, the Viper quickly showed weakness. Jesus Christ, the fucking... Okay. The Viper showed weakness, highlighting potential injuries to his knee and back that the American Nightmare targeted. Orton could not even pull off his signature RKO tease taunt when he started to make his comeback. Rhodes sent the Viper into the steel post outside and busted him open. The American Nightmare beat down Orton only to get caught by a crossroads. Cody would then respond with an RKO for a near fall. Rhodes walked into an RKO for a near fall. The American Nightmare responded with an eye poke that caused Orton to accidentally RKO the referee. In the follow-up chaos, Rhodes low-blowed Orton only to dive into an RKO. McAfee returned in a referee uniform, but Cody was able to kick out before 3. Orton RKO'd McAfee for failing him, and then got caught with a crossroads for the anticlimactic win. Afterwards, Orton struck Rhodes with the title and punted the American Nightmare in the face, which caused an orbital injury to Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes is not medically cleared to compete. On a night when nearly everything else was rushed, this moved at a snail's pace, but the story was seemingly clear throughout. What started with a heel Orton and a face Rhodes quickly shifted. The American Nightmare kept mocking the Viper, while Orton tried to fit the spirit that would allow him to win. The aggression of the champion makes sense for the story they built, but the weakness of Orton and a crowd that was already invested in the Viper's victory led to an early double turn, feeling in the arena. However, commentary continued to harp on Rhodes was only doing what he was doing to answer to Orton's aggression, but by the end, the Viper had reaffirmed himself as a solo hero and a loser, while Rhodes was still the champion. So what the fuck was the point of this slow, methodical mess of a pace? Why did Rhodes come off more like a heel, only to reaffirm a losing Orton as the villain? It made no fucking sense. Rhodes wins and stays face. Orton stands tall and ends the night of WrestleMania without actually winning the title. The fans wanted him to win. But I didn't really want him to win the title. I don't know. Fucking... This is another D. This doesn't help the WrestleMania overall. So night one doesn't feel anything good. And for this, I'm going to advance it a little bit more with the amount of matches that were. So what was the final overall for WrestleMania Night 1? Well, for all the conflicted hype around WrestleMania 42, the expectation was that the talent would over-deliver in the ring in front of a massive crowd. WWE made sure that did not happen. Short matches across most of the night made the women's action particularly look secondary. The main event moved Pat McAfee out of the way immediately, yet Rhodes and Orton struggled to deliver the action expected in the moment. The story was confused, and the action was sluggish. McAfee returned just to get RKO'd, and the only follow-up was to say that maybe Orton and Rhodes will have a better match in the future. The best thing on the show was Gunther and Rollins. Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre got the best match of the night, apparently. And Liv Morgan, you can't even say anything about Liv Morgan. Yeah, the Liv Morgan title rush felt fucking rushed. Night 2 has much to live up to in terms of selling this year's as a worthy addition to WrestleMania, but fuck this. This gets a C+. It gets a grade higher, not a D+. But damn. What did you guys think of WrestleMania Night 1? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm going to shift gears now to WrestleMania Night 2, which was pretty more exciting and better than Night 1. So, we open up with Oba and Brock, and oh my god, we get an A+ match, guys. It's probably the best match of the night. Cena opened Night 2, changed up the graphics, yada yada yada. Brock Lesnar and Oba Femi came out. Oba Femi broke Brock Lesnar's confidence early by knocking him down, and then out of the ring, causing the Beast Incarnate to lift the steel steps before Paul Heyman calmed him. Femi met Lesnar outside, where the Beast Incarnate threw him into the steps and began to send the ruler to Suplex City. He had an F5, but Oba stood right back up. A chokeslam and a fall from grace sealed the win for the ruler in a shocking quick decision. Now afterwards, a confused Femi headed up the ramp while Lesnar left his gloves and boots in the ring, indicating that this was the end of his career. This was perfect for Femi. He empathetically showcased that he is the next big monster in WWE, and Lesnar made him look completely unstoppable. A win like this is what Mania is made for. The ruler walked out a bigger star than he already was, and he was already the clearest rising star in the business, and Michael Colvin gave Oba Femi Brock's tagline when he first came into the WWE, the next big thing. Now, Brock Lesnar, Lesnar seemingly retiring here was a great send-off. While this is still speculation about that he will be retired by Gunther at SummerSlam, there is no point to prolong it. The ring general does not need the rub. Femi deserves a spotlight more than the man who ended the Beast's career. Let's hold this and push Femi straight into the world title scene. He should be the World Heavyweight Champion in 2026, and it should be a lengthy reign. And I fucking agree. We could look for Oba and Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, which would be nice. Gunther and Brock Lesnar for the retirement match at SummerSlam. I was already fucking saying this. I was already making this very clear for anybody who was wondering. This was the clearest thing I said. I mentioned it. This will be the retirement match for Lesnar in Minnesota at SummerSlam. It's going to happen, but do not push it. Do not rush it. Get it fucking, don't save it for SummerSlam. A+, and Oba Femi, fucking great. We had the, of course, IC ladder match, which was also a little bit fun. Here, I'm going to give this an A-2. I'm going to keep the same grade. We don't have to talk about it that much, but there was just a lot of big moments here. Everybody was practically wearing red. Penta ultimately retained, showing that he is on the top of the world and that they're not going to slow down anything. Penta needed to win as he had not had enough time as the Intercontinental Champion yet. Javon Evans was the star of the match, but Penta was not far behind. So at some point, Javon Evans is going to get the title. It's just there, in the weights, in the midst. So, yeah. Rey Mysterio did compete. I honestly thought that he wouldn't, but he did. But congratulations to Penta retaining. Sami Zayn versus Trick Williams. This was okay for a match B+. Let's talk about it. These two brawled from the bell back and forth with their offense. When Zayn set Trick to the apron, Lil Yachty tried to hype this man, but got thrown into the barricade by Zayn. Zayn laid out Trick with a brain buster on the apron, and then hit him with a haluva kick over the barricade to nearly win by countout. Yachty bounced Zayn off the top rope to set up a Trick kick for a near fall. Zayn responded with a corner exploder, but Trick caught the Ultimate Underdog running with a trick shot for the victory. This was tightly composed and put over Trick big. While it was shorter than it could have been, Zayn maximized the time to give Trick his best performance on the main roster. Before the bell first rang, it was clear that this needed to be Trick's moment, and he can run with the United States Championship for a while. WWE should lean babyface with him, though, as the crowd is too invested in him to boo him. Zayn was set up to be a transitional champion from the moment he dethroned Carmelo Hayes, so the result was no surprise. It was the right move. Looking back at it now, it probably was the right move to take the title off of, to make him a transitional. And now we can actually turn Zayn fucking heel. This is perfect, because now you can set up a triple threat match. You got Carmelo Hayes as your babyface. You got Trick as your fucking in-between champion. And now you have Sami Zayn as your heel. This can be your backlash match. WWE, set it up. Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes, Sami Zayn for the U.S. title. Set it up. It's perfect. There's no other way around this. This is perfectly set up. Do it. B+, I agree, and I love that Trick won the United States Champion. It needs to happen. Street fight. Dominic versus Finn Balor and Dominic, street fight. And this was pretty good. Give it a B as well. Really great stuff. Ain't gotta say much about it. Of course, Finn Balor played the Demon really, really fucking well. So, yeah, they announced it would be a street fight. I didn't have to go on there and go on, YouTube or anything, because they didn't add any new matches. It was more of a stipulation was added. So yeah, I'm glad that Balor won as the Demon, finally getting a win, and a much needed win. Now he can start to feel a little bit more important, on the main roster. So, but yeah, I'll just read how he won. Of course, stop fucking, damn. Actually, hold on. Okay. Mysterio was shocked when Balor kicked out of his frog splash immediately. Dominic dodged a coup de grace and blasted the Demon with a steel chair for a 2 count. The 619 on the Demon with a steel chair wrapped around his neck, followed by another frog splash, delivered the first true, near fall. Balor survived a series of chair shots, took down Mysterio with a shotgun dropkick with a steel chair wrapped around his neck. A coup de grace through the table sealed the win, basically. So yeah, grade a B, and I agree. This was a really good showing from both men, especially in a street fight. Another thing that's going to lead here, of course, Jade Cargill and Rhea Ripley for the Women's Championship. Cargill quickly tried to establish dominance with a body slam, and she used the ropes and outside area to continue to lay into Ripley. The Eradicator laughed at Cargill's early offense and began her comeback. The Storm tried to overwhelm her with power, but Ripley continued to counter. Meechin arrived, followed by B-Fab for the distraction and a boot into the post. Cargill took advantage with her version of the One-Winged Angel, or what we called the One-Winged Fairy, for the near fall. Io Sky arrived to lay both Meechin and B-Fab with a moonsault to the floor. After a final series of counters, Ripley was able to catch Cargill with a Riptide for the victory. If anyone was going to save the weekend for the women's division, it was going to be Ripley. She arrived with fire and gave Cargill easily her best match in WWE, possibly her entire career. It was not even top 10 for Ripley's career, but that was mainly down to the interruption of the flow, courtesy of the interference, eerie familiar of Night 1 in the Women's World Championship match. So, they got more time than any other women's match, but this could have used another 5 minutes to truly solidify Jade as a biggest match to date. It's never a bad idea to put the World Championship on Ripley, though it did not feel like Cargill ever truly got the grounds as WWE's Women's Champion. Hopefully, a reset and more competitive rivalry can keep giving the Storm chances like this to deliver and prove her worth beyond her presentation. So, with Io, of course, should be moving over to SmackDown with Ripley. This actually gives them a good chance to feud together for Minnesota. The idea that I have for WWE is to take inspiration from Rey Mysterio and Batista. Batista was more like a world champion than Rey Mysterio. So you can play up to Rhea Ripley being the world champion and Io kind of being the Rey Mysterio, being the friend that, he needs. And then eventually getting to what happened at Bragging Rights. What happened at Bragging Rights of 2009, I believe. Which would lead to a Survivor Series match. But here, it's not going to have to do that. You can do at SummerSlam, you can have Io and fucking Ripley face each other, have Io win the championship, and eventually have Ripley turn on Io Sky. and give Rhea Ripley a bigger and badder fucking heel run without having to do the Judgment Day type shit, you know? So, Danhausen steals the spotlight from The Miz and John Cena. Yeah, I'm not even gonna fucking F up Danhausen or anything, but, yeah, we don't even have to talk about this. Obviously, this was just, mini Housens making fun of The Miz. It was pretty funny shit, so we're not even gonna talk about it. But we came for this, the main event, the World Heavyweight Championship. We started with an A+, we're going to end with an A+. CM Punk and Roman Reigns. Punk showed little respect for Reigns. While throwing hands in and out of the ring, these two talked trash. The OTC wore down the best in the world with hard-hitting offense and hit the first Superman punch for their near fall. The fight intensified until Reigns blasted Punk with a steel steps, busting him open. The OTC followed up with a running power bomb through the announce table. Punk caught Reigns on the return to the ring for GTS and a crowd energizing near fall. When the best in the world tried another, the OTC fought free for a spear in a near fall. Reigns tried to hit Punk with a GTS, but Punk fought out of it and returned with a Superman punch for another near fall. Punk then took the Ula Fala from a fan and went for a spear, only to get caught in the guillotine. Punk fought through into an Anaconda Vice, which Reigns turned right back into another guillotine. Punk fought free and began throwing hands with Reigns, the best in the world, through his hand tape at the OTC, distracting the ref to hit a low blow in GTS. Yet it still could not get the 3 count. After Punk set Reigns through the announce table with an elbow drop, he tried to finish this with a GTS, only to collapse. Punk would go for another GTS, but his knee would give out. Reigns would hit a spear and then followed up with a second spear with a double rope rebound for the victory. The ideal for a main event is to outshine everything else on the card, and Punk and Reigns lived up to that. And we knew they were going to live up to that. We knew that was going to fucking happen. I don't even have to say much about this. But, as far as it goes, for all the words exchanged and hatred promised, they backed it up with action. This was as smooth and athletic as Punk has looked in the WWE while still selling the violent damage in the match. Reigns also looked great, performing with the most physical edge he has ever had in years. These two laid into each other, especially down the stretch. This was not just the biggest action of WrestleMania. It was also one of the best WrestleMania main events in WWE's long history, fully elevated by the in-ring work of the two men at the top of their game. Now, despite the blusters of both men, Punk and Reigns have had already delivered at the highest that they could go. In fact, they may stand as the greatest match for both men's careers, not in terms of drama or story, but pure action. So now, we go on to, of course, the final results, but this was an A+ down the stretch. Hopefully, Reigns gets the entire summer to work with this shit, and I can't wait. So the overall grade, well, it was an A-, for this show. Since WrestleMania moved to 2 nights, WWE's consistently delivered at least one quality night of action. Night 2 lived up to the billing this year. While one less match on the card set up a tighter pace, it was not pacing that sold this night, but strong, consistent work from the performers. Punk and Reigns delivered the main event. Oba and Trick left as bigger stars than they did walking in, and some other matches to catch up with. The night did not, of course, have major surprises, delivering more conventional results, but the show actually benefited from the emphasis. So this was about living in the moment of the show of shows, and should make night 1 a forgettable afterthought on the weekend when WWE finally landed the plane. So, graded an A-. But let me know what you guys thought of night 2 in the comments down below. We will be live in a few hours. Or, well, actually, almost an hour, I should say. But we'll be live to go for the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania, as I promised you guys. So we'll see you guys soon. Peace.